Indoga kurietu mwakala moya provetu mwa ya kama ngambu kurietu. Ya mwakala moya provetu ya kama maji. Agora honi hutikila abantu babidhiba kubitambula tambula honi. Munoni ndonga yacho muningambu vene ndonga moya yakana likeza. Ndonga.
Mukuro gwetu gwana mweni nkeyo inzi ya imo mwakara nomfi ya imoena mwakara ninke ikazati ndi mahwa abali bantu ya tani ininke inzi yakaramo eparo ali parukamo nomfi no bangandu no ninke no bamvu nabenye mobeli momo makura nsene asi mupira oyo ininke oyo aye kwato tani mwatu parukire ikuni no yoko nontere do ninke do mukuro makura ngoso nsena kupira kupina tukaparukira.
The Cubango Okavango River Basin, covering approximately 323,192 square kilometers, is one of the transboundary river systems in southern Africa, which requires intervention to ensure that its resources are used and managed sustainably. This fourth longest river in southern Africa stretches for about 1,700 kilometers across 3 countries from Angola, transversing in Namibia and Botswana, where it transforms into another remarkable UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Okavango Delta. The Cubango Okavango River Basin is a source of life for abundant plants and animal species. Many communities also depend on the basin's water for their livelihood, such as household use, farming, tourism business, transport, and many other socio-economic developments. Hence, communities, non-governmental organizations, and the 3 governments are hard at work to ensure that the resources of the Cubango Okavango River Basin are sustainably managed for the benefit of the basin communities.
Kurogwetu moraba tubavuka no ininke imwe iba kurugana mu mukuro iba kuzugumya mu mukuro yakuninka ngweta idipaga hena nomfi no kukara hena mema getu gakara no ndoba gakureta no mukisi mu bantu mukuro ntantandika bwakara hena mu bwakerenare
makura mvura za namvo kabizaro konawa mukuro gwetu kapigwa hanzere ya mema kapiga hanzere na waga wize momoninke mezana makura nongombe detu kapikwatwe ya kuparuka waiwa kukuta tani nomfie na kwato momkuro nomahangu kutupu ya aye namvo ruhe posili runene rwakara.
The Permanent Okavango River Basin Water Commission, OKACOM, is one of the leading organizations spearheading the management of the Cubango Okavango River Basin. The commission is made up of 3 countries who benefit from the river system, namely Angola, Namibia, and Botswana. The OKACOM mandate, as established by the 3 member states, is to advise the governments of Angola, Namibia, and Botswana on the best utilization of the resources to make sure that they are used equitably and sustainably to avoid adversely affecting the integrity of the Cubango Okavango River Basin.
The OKACOM Strategic Action Program, which was adopted by the 3 member states in 2011, was based on a joint study that they undertook called the Transboundary Diagnostic Analysis Study of the Basin, which had processes of coming up with scenarios of what issues sustain in the basin, including the status of the basin in terms of its water quality, the flows, and such activities that required. Then based on the scenarios that were developed to assist the member states to see what is the best way to use the river without adversely affecting, they developed now a strategic action program. The strategic action program is based on at least 4 thematic areas. One is the management of the ecological environmental parts of the basin, the management of the water resources of the basin, the management of the tourism that subsists in the basin in terms of what the countries depends on the basin need to be doing. And fourthly, the land management program or the land management part of the themes that they have to look at. This is because all these 4 thematic areas makes a complete set of activities that needs to be undertaken to have the river basin being managed sustainably. There are several projects that are currently under implementation to support the implementation of the strategic action program, funded by various partners who are having agreements with OKACOM. The first one, and the one for some of the reasons that we are here in the Quito Valley, is the UNDP GEF project, which is by and large looking at addressing all the thematic areas of the SAP, including the water resource management, the livelihoods program, as well as the land degradation and other processes that are required in the basin. This project is funded by UNDP through what is called the Global Environment Facility Trust Fund, where UNDP is an implementing agency to support the activities. And working together with the Commission, we are undertaking several activities in the basin, including establishment of a monitoring program so that that information I mentioned can be obtained from the river basin. This is realized through the collection of information and data on the basin jointly by the 3 countries to ensure that when they do give the advice, it's informed by technically sound and accurate and appropriate information and data.
UNDP as a GEF agency has supported OKACOM to access the GEF through International Waters Program to finance this specific project that is mainly to tackle some key issues that were identified during the TDA and later on translated into specific priorities in the action program of OKACOM.
A team comprised of specialists from OKACOM, UNDP, hydrologists from the 3 governments of Angola, Botswana, and Namibia, and participating students from the University of Quito in Angola, conducted sampling exercises to collect sediments, water quality, and quantity, including flow measurements. The sampling sites included Menongwe, Kayundo, Diriko and Quito in Angola, Nkurenkuru, Divundu and Rundu in Namibia, as well as Mohembo and observation at Boro village in Botswana. The team made consultations with universities, government institutions dealing with water affairs, traditional authorities, and communities residing in the Cubango Okavango River Basin to ensure that they participate in the process. They also exchanged knowledge and shared information about OKACOM and other related programs aimed at mitigating challenges in the field and to ensure support for the Cubango Okavango River Basin Monitoring Survey, including other planned development interventions targeted for the system and communities. The journey began by visiting the source of the Cubango River in Chicala, Choluhanga, in Huambo province, southern Angola.
river Kuvango, here in Angola we call it Cubango and the others call it OKavango, but in Angola Cubango means Kubangula, or a place where people used to sit and chat.
The river originated from a marshy area where the wet grassland provides seepage of water which starts flowing as a small stream and transforms into a shallow incised valley and then becomes a river surrounded by margins of grassland.
According to the guide, the river disappears into the ground and reappears again somewhere in front as it flows on its way, and it goes all the way to the province of Kuvango. From there it goes to Namibia, makes a border with Namibia and Angola, and then it flows to Chicala where it makes a panhandle. Then from there the water splits into different streams and some kind of ponds and floodplains up to Maun, where we do the water monitoring all the way through.
Spearheading the water quality and quantity survey is Dr. Casper Bonyongo, a senior scientific officer at OKACOM.
And we really have to monitor this system, especially from a flow perspective, from a water quality perspective. The main reason is that the three countries are all going to develop within this basin. Therefore, in order for this development to go on, it has to be done in a sustainable manner, which means we really have to know more about our basin. To know more about our basin, we need data. Because without data, you will never have information, because you convert this data into information, then this information is adequately converted into knowledge. So basically, at the end of the day, we need to make development decisions which are informed. Therefore, by knowing the patterns of our flows within our rivers, we will be able to even advise future plans. This particular exercise focused mainly on hydrology and water quality.
Estou nesse momento na comissão da OKACOM, sou membro do Comitê Técnico de Recursos Hídricos. Estamos nesse momento a fazer medições de caudais usando o ADCP, que é um instrumento acústico Doppler, na secção de Caiundo, na província do Quito and Cubango. O nosso objetivo é afluir a quantidade de água que passa nessa determinada secção, assim como fazer uma leitura do leito.
Right distance, Yeah, 25 meters. Okay. We just did the measurement, the ADCP measurement at Kayundu Bridge. We got a reading of 88 cubic meters per second. If you convert that to liters per second, meaning 1 cubic meter is 1,000 liters, meaning it will be 88,000 liters per second currently flowing at Kayundu Bridge on the Kuvango River.
This is the water quality team of OKACOM. I am with Seboho from Botswana, and then Joaquin from Angola, and my name is Lorica from Namibia. Basically, what we are trying to do is we are looking at the quality of water, the cleanliness of water. We normally do this nationally in each country, but then we are looking at the basin as a whole because people in the community are drinking this water. We are using different instruments, but then for one goal. We will be testing for the pH, the temperature, the conductivity, the turbidity of the water here on site, but then we will also be collecting samples that will be taken to the labs to test them. At the end of the day, we want to comfortably say that the Kavango River is not polluted. So in order to achieve that, we need to do this testing.
Transboundary Diagnostic Analysis, TDA. The OKACOM Strategic Action Program, SAP, and the UNDP GEF support to the OKACOM SAP implementation project identified the most critical knowledge gaps relate to the upstream, causal factors, associated with land use activities. This includes not only potential disturbance in sediment transport resulting from river damming, but also issues related to land cover transformation in the source areas, resulting in potential to increase erosion and sediment loads in the river system. This lack of information, coupled with evident increase in population pressure, tourism, and agricultural activities, has potential to impact the basin management planning.
There are two kinds of sediments that we look for. The suspended sediment, which is the matter carried by the water and it doesn't touch the ground, it doesn't have contact to the ground or to the bottom of the channel. And then the other sediment that we're looking for is the bed load, which tracks at the bottom of the channel. So based on the ADCP data conducted earlier, we determined that we were going to do two verticals, which means across the cross-section of the river, we were going to make two stops. And we just finished at one of the stops where we took 3 samples using the Haley-Smith sampler. And these are the samples right here. This one says Kayundu, and the date V2 means vertical 2, which is the stop, the second stop that you do, from 0 being the right bank in our case. And this is sample 3, means it's 3 of 3. We did 3 samples, each lasting 10 minutes, with the Haley-Smith sample sitting at the bottom of the channel, collecting whatever is being transported at that level of the channel.
Menongwe is a capital of Cubango province in southern Angola, and it has an estimated population of more than 30,000 people who make a living from the Queve River resources which passes through the town.
Rio Queve, essa água vai no Rio Cubango, depois do Rio Cubango na Namíbia vai até Botswana.
An important element of OKACOM's Joint Basin Wide Water Resources Monitoring Survey at Queve River focused on flow measurements and collecting water samples to analyze its quality. The samples are then examined at the laboratory in order to guide the government to take appropriate action. The research team proceeded to monitor the rivers at selected monitoring sites and stations of the Kuvango, Quito and Cubango River in Angola, Okavango River in Namibia, and Okavango Delta in Botswana. The team also continued with community consultations to share more information on the utilization of the river resources and challenges they face at every site. The participation of university students and government representatives from water affairs departments in the monitoring exercise is a great initiative which is aimed at transferring practical knowledge to undertake similar surveys in the future.
We are here today at Quito Valley doing our water quality monitoring in the Cubango Okavango River Basin. I'm going to be explaining how you are going to operate it for measuring the dissolved oxygen in the water. The meter can also measure the temperature of the water. We are going to be using it to check the dissolved oxygen levels.
E esta experiência toda, né, vai contribuir para o leque de conhecimento que nós temos e permitir também uma visão ampla de como os recursos hídricos estão no nosso país e servir também e posteriormente poderemos passar essas experiências para as outras pessoas ou os outros estudantes que queiram, né, se inteirar e saber mais deste trabalho todo.
The sharing of collected data and related information on the Cubango Okavango River Basin is equally essential. Hence, OKACOM established 3 resource centers based at the University of Quito in Angola, the Namibian Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Forestry, and Maun National Library in Botswana. These centers are aimed at promoting and strengthening research and sustainable development in the basin.
Estou colocado aqui neste centro. Este é um centro de documentação da bacia hidrográfica do Okavango. É fruto de um memorando de entendimento entre a OKACOM e a universidade, tanto também a GABIC, com iniciativa para o fomento ou controle dos recursos hídricos que temos aqui, pesquisas e não só. E o que nós fazemos aqui no centro é prover informações relacionadas ao projeto da bacia hidrográfica do Cubango Okavango e também incentivar alguns estudantes para elaborar estudos relacionados a este projeto, assim como dispor de informações diversificadas com parceiros como a GABIC, OKACOM e outros.
The activities of this Okavango Basin River Management Committee is to hear the concerns and expectations of each and every resident of the river basin that depends on these resources in terms of how does it add to their livelihood, how do they expect it to improve, their socio-economic status, and then we pass this information on to the policy makers that translate it into policy that that assist these people in their daily lives.
I'm working for the Department of Water and Sanitation Regional Office based in Kumare, Huambo gauging station. It's the first station upstream of the Okavango River. And then there are several gauging stations downstream. Most of them are in the delta. Our benefit from OKACOM is such that whatever information has to be shared, which is from the upper basin or the catchment, which is from Angola and Namibia, that information is shared through OKACOM.
After a week of collecting data in Angola and Namibia, the research team finally arrived at one of the barrow channels in Botswana, which is one of the outlet channels out of the Okavango Delta, a sampling site of regional importance.
The delta itself has been recognized as a UNESCO and a Ramsar specific site. So this is quite important that the whole member states can commit to sustain this important world recognized site.
What is more important about this particular point is that about 7 months ago, in November 2017, we were here. There were flows, we measured flows here, we got samples for water quality. 7 months down the line, the river is dry. And this shows that in order to manage these river systems, or the basin at large, we need to know their behavior, their dynamics in flows and so forth. What is important is that the team of experts from the 3 countries jointly traversed through the system. They did realize that there's absolutely very low rainfall there was absolutely very low rainfall this past year, which means the flows are very low. And then from what we have seen as we are traversing down the basin, chances are very little water will reach this place.
Borogi Kaulia Abujanala Eri Dirisa Hotel at the Bajanala Hotel Lamotim Jakalun Nalugonaori Nukayarna Kadlokolekai Ira Emilia Moilor Matsuarna Ailugotas Jakalibona Mikorarna Yote Conte Esa Tailmotiriso Kabakala La Mates Mora or Bangukaro Nahora Bamuvile Haba Movet go on Alemate Tono Hoilor de Relate Tourism Yarona Bajanal Batanilla when Habatan Lamote Rauba Gaida Mote
Obukumpena Nesh, Agadicar gets a lesson. Our Metricon Libile Mo, they retarded tap more, ne when some Maquia, Yan Baye, me about Sutton Batana. Little wish, body run, I get to run. The command, Yan Gamata, I assume what you can get plus Dubai.
So basically, the river systems within this Kuvango Basin are very critical for people's livelihoods, such that when we develop, we need to know exactly the dynamics of flows in this river system. For example, when the rivers were in flood, it's like Boro, when this channel was flooding, there were a lot of projects which were linked to the river flows, like agricultural projects. Now at the moment, the river is not flowing, which means the planning at that particular point in time did not take into account the patterns of flows in the river. So this is very critical that at any given point in time, we monitor flows within the basin so that we know how the quantity of water behaves over time.
Another important aspect of the OKACOM survey is that the team have created a network for sharing crucial information about the flows and water quality in the Cubango Okavango River Basin. Equally, the involvement of the 3 member states will adequately translate into similarities in terms of methods and tools to be applied, and later on, each member state can commit and sustain the investment from the UNDP and other partners.
It's extremely important to then later on inform the decision making to adequately decide on how the basin activities or development of the basin should take place. So this is very relevant either for the OKACOM perspective as well as for the GEF and the UNDP under the International Waters Program.
The collection of data goes hand in hand with other OKACOM programs, such as the one funded by the European Union to support the national action plans of member states.
The second program is the one that is supported by the EU, European Union, through the delegation of the EU based in Botswana, as also part of the SADC support to the river basin organizations. And this program is mainly looking at the development of the decision support system, which is very much critical in terms of advising our member states so that at any one given time, we are able to give member state information that will allow them to make decisions on development that should come into the basin. Those developments should be such that they do not, as is a principle, render the basin itself unsustainable.
The survey is also vital for communities living in the Cubango Okavango River Basin, as it creates awareness of the available resources, what quantity and quality, as well as how they can meet environmental standards.
Tani nokuni kaena si tutaire mumkuro gwetu tantani pamwe marenge gana pi agaturugan sanunzuko nombu na dapi agatu didiksa marapa agaturugan sanike marwaro ngano iyamwe tu kapisi mtu nage peke ngatu vure kutara kenye yono mono ngatu rapote kwa porosi turapote kwa homba turapote kwa hormende ngano wane hormende gagwa na makwaso gokuni kawa no meni ko mkuro ipasi mkuro gwetu memaga kakare nawa mora kapisi natu venye kuvura tugwane memaga mopomba.
If you see across the basin there, these are children who are depending on the basin for recreation, for their water resources that they need for washing and other things. They need to be equipped with information and knowledge to understand what impacts this would do to the basin, but also what they should do to make sure that this basin still remains relevant in their lives.
The Cubango Okavango River Basin will remain a relevant source of livelihood to the fishermen, farmers, and households. In addition, the government of Angola, Namibia, and Botswana, as well as the basin communities, are expected to benefit abundantly through developmental projects such as income generation from water extraction, natural resources harvesting, farming, tourism businesses, and many other activities. Therefore, the OKACOM Water Quality and Quantity Survey is a continuous process that will guarantee that relevant data and information is collected and shared with authorities, communities, and all stakeholders to enable them to successfully implement development programs in line with the Sustainable Development Goals and protect the biodiversity of the Cubango Okavango River Basin.